It's time now for the Sam Lesante Show with your host, Sam Lesante. A Samsung production.
Thanks for joining us, folks, on this Thanksgiving special. September 11th, I think after that day, many Americans' lives were changed. Many Americans who lost family at that terrible event, whether it was in New York, Washington, or in Pennsylvania, lives changed. And today's show, we're going to talk to Dr. Christopher Snyder, who lost his brother Leonard in the World Trade Center. And also we'll be on location in New York City, and we'll talk to some of those people. When we come back, we'll hear an interesting story about Leonard Snyder and what happened to him, but why it happened. It was a situation where maybe it shouldn't have happened. Stay with us. I'm Sam Lesante. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show. As I said before, after September 11th, I think every American's life was changed some way. Today, one of my guests, Dr. Christopher Snyder, his brother Leonard was lost in the World Trade Center. So, Christopher, first of all, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
What I'm going to do right now, I'd like to show the audience, our viewers, your brother and his family, pictures of your family. And so when we put these pictures up, tell us what we're watching. And here's the first picture that we're going to show the audience. And what are we looking at right now?
That's a picture of Leonard and I. We had always wanted to go skiing out west, and that was our chance to go out to Colorado.
What year was this?
That was about 4 years ago.
97.
Yeah.
And here's another picture of your brother, right?
Yeah, this was unfortunately about 10 days before he died. This was at my son's 4-year-old birthday party, and Lenny was his godfather.
This is about a week before it happened,
Yeah,
right?
this was the Labor Day weekend. This was at a Cape May County Zoo down in South Jersey.
That's your son?
That's my son, CJ, Christopher Jeffrey.
Okay, and here is a beautiful picture, and this is a baptism, correct?
This is at the baptism. This is Lenny, and he had twin boys, Matthew and Jason, or he still has them, wonderful boys.
Twin boys?
Twin boys, yes.
All right, and here's a beautiful family picture of your brother and his wife.
Yeah, this was Christmas of last year, and this is Lenny and his twin boys, Matthew and Jason, and his 3-year-old daughter, Lauren, is in the center, and that's his wife, Janine.
And here is a beautiful family picture of your brother and his wife, Janine,
yes,
and his family, right? Now, your brother's name was Leonard.
Yes.
And how old was Leonard?
Leonard was 34 years old.
What did Leonard do at the World Trade Center?
He was an insurance broker, and ironically, he worked in special risk for a company called Aon.
Now, the story, the interesting story about your brother being there at the time, in the beginning of the show I said, it's interesting that maybe he shouldn't have been there. What was the story why he was there that early?
Well, it kind of started actually on that picture. It reminded me that when we were down in Jersey for my son's birthday, my mother got sick, and she had a disease that needed surgery, and she was supposed to have surgery on Friday after September 11th, and Lenny really wanted to be there, so he was going into work early each morning. So Monday the 10th he went in early, and on Tuesday, September 11th, he went into work early. And whereas some people got in late, some people took their kids to school, he just went into work early that day and didn't come home.
What do you think happened that day? What floor did he work on?
He worked on the 101st floor of the second tower. We do know that when the first plane hit, his entire office decided to get out of the building, and they all headed down to the 78th floor, where the elevators take you all the way down to the bottom. And when he got to the 78th floor, that's when the second plane hit his building. And we know from talking to people that he was alive at that time, and he started down one set of stairs, and the people he went with down those set of stairs never made it out.
We talk about the pain and the sadness that this entire country has faced. Has the Red Cross or any agency been of help to your sister-in-law?
Yeah, well, I'd have to say they did call her constantly after this happened. They constantly were calling, asking her if she needed help with the children. Did she need help for transportation? Did she need food? Did she need money for certain things? They didn't just say, here's a check, They really tried to find out what she needed, and for that she was very appreciative. Recently, with everything that's been that's come, the criticisms of the Red Cross, they did contact her and said that they will be giving her a check for just a check for money, for expenses, for whatever.
Do you feel the government is doing the right thing here?
I guess I don't know what the right thing is. It's such a tragedy, and nothing's going to replace my brother and what he would be able to do for them for the rest of their lives. I think they're trying. She's been frustrated at times, but I think they're trying.
We talked a little bit about this. After this break, we'll be in New York City, and we'll be talking to people there. But it's hard to say this, but sometimes when something terrible happens, we hope that some good comes from it. Do you think anything good will come from it in your family?
Yeah, that's it's so hard to look through just the pain and the suffering and the loss to see the good. We were a very, very close family to begin with. Could this make us closer? Yes. Could it test your faith, but could it eventually make your faith stronger? Yes. Does it make you appreciate the little things? I think that definitely does. The day it happened was a beautiful day. They appreciates your kids when you come home, that you live in a free country, that you have shows that can talk about these things. So I would say, I don't know where the good is.
Well, what message during these Thanksgiving holidays? What message would you like to send out as a person who lost a family member at the World Trade Center? What message you want to tell people in matter of Thanksgiving or whatever?
Well, I guess I would say be thankful for the firemen, for the people that are fighting for us, for our way of life. One thing I think, there were no issues in our family at the time that this happened, and that was reassuring to me that I wasn't fighting with him, or I didn't have any problems with him. And so I would say that there's discontent in your family, try and work it out.
Talking to Dr. Christopher Snyder, folks. He lost his brother Leonard. When we come back, folks, we'll be in New York City. We talk to people there. We hope that you have a great Thanksgiving, and like Dr. Snyder said, little things in life that are so important for us, our families, our friends. If there's any discontentment in your family, don't you think it's time now we just put these things aside and say, hey, folks, life's too short. Stay with us. New York City, the year 2000, the date is November 23rd. It's Thanksgiving Day. New York City, November the 22nd, 2001, it's Thanksgiving Day. People are doing the same things they did last Thanksgiving as they're doing today, this Thanksgiving. People are buying tickets for the play. People are shopping. The town is hustling and bustling. But there's a difference in what we call Thanksgiving. People are thankful for different things. people are looking at people a little bit differently. It says here there are many lives, but yet there's one main theme in the city. We all are united. Today on the Sam Lesante Show, we'll talk to some of these people and how they feel about Thanksgiving and what it means to them in their lives. Standing in line, waiting for tickets for a Broadway play. I'm really talking to Sally and Boyd Hiddleston. Sally and Boyd, thanks for allowing me to speak with you today. Thanksgiving today versus Thanksgiving last year. Okay, let me start with you, Sally. What are your thoughts about Thanksgiving today?
Well, Thanksgiving's a time that we like to spend with our family usually, and if they're busy, we have grandchildren, we travel. And so this year we're going to travel, and we're taking our daughter with us. She's grown, and we're going to Grand Cayman.
Boyd, your view of Thanksgiving today versus last year?
Well, my brother was in New York, and he was about a block away when the Trade Center came down, so it really makes you think about your family more, I think. Be thankful for that. I mean, they're still here, and to have a chance to visit and sort of form a relationship, and you think about things that I don't think I did before.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think today we're looking at different values and different things, and do things get you upset as they did last year?
No, they really don't. I was on an airplane September the 11th in morning, and just a tremendous disruption there. I sort of went into shock for about a month, but now I'm back out of it and going again. But no, you really don't get upset about little things. You don't sweat the little stuff. Thanksgiving
means so many things to so many different people. Sally, you said about bringing your family and having your family around. And has your family changed anyway from last Thanksgiving to this Thanksgiving?
Yes, in some ways they have. I think we call each other more. We just touch base with each other a little bit more than we used to. And I hadn't seen my brother for 2 years, and we just visited him in Delaware. So that was good.
They say that every time there's a bad thing that happens, and certainly that was a terrible thing that happened in September. We would hope we never see something like that again forever. But they say people have a different value and a different appreciative about their God. Do you think people today are paying more attention to their religion and to what God is all about?
Yes, I think they are. Certainly we have.
You know, it's funny. Before you couldn't say God in school, or you couldn't say God anywhere. Now it's God all over the place. And do you think this is a good thing?
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, the result is a good thing. The cause is not a good thing.
Yes, that's right.
People's response to it has been a good thing.
Sally, it's September 11th happened, and everybody was so shocked. And there's a lot of fear in the country today. What do you fear the most?
Well, I think I fear mostly for my youngest grandchild, who's 7, almost 7. And I wonder what kind of country he's going to grow up in. But on the other hand, I find myself personally less fearful, because it's good to see people saying, God bless America. That's a wonderful thing. And just watching people pull together, the patriotism in our country has just amazed me, because it was so dead for a long, long time. I
Really?
remember World War II. And
you're a young girl.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was a child when World War II happened. My father joined the Seabees and went to Hawaii. He was an engineer to rebuild the air base. And I remember that, but not certainly the way a small child would remember what happened at the World Trade Center, I suppose. And I never thought that we'd see the patriotism that we see today. Everywhere we go, we see flags on cars and people with flags and flags flying in front of people's homes. And we went through most of the 20th century, a good amount of the 20th century, without that. After World War II was over, the flags were put away. I'm proud to say we fly a flag in front of our house. We have for the last 20 years. So.
But I've never seen anything like this. I don't think I ever would have. I mean, it just what she was talking about, the resurgence of patriotism. You just wouldn't have believed this could have happened a year ago. I mean, that people could feel this way and just be proud of being Americans and show it.
So Thanksgiving this year has a lot of value and a lot of different meanings. Not that Thanksgivings before didn't mean anything, but so it brings it all home, right?
Yeah.
Now you're traveling, so you have no fear of traveling, do you?
I wouldn't say that exactly. I sort of have to.
Well, do you come to New York City much?
No, we haven't been here in at least 5 or 6 years. But both of us have brothers who live here, and we're within a fairly short distance of the Trade Center. So I mean, it really makes you think.
Yes,
it makes
does.
you evaluate that.
Yes, you did. So you're on your way to Cayman Islands, right?
Well,
For this Thanksgiving.
in November.
Yeah.
November?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
in November.
Thanks for joining us on our show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about New York City, folks.
Yeah, okay.
And in New York City, we have Susan now who happens to live in New York City. Susan, we're talking about Thanksgiving. Last year, Thanksgiving. This year, Thanksgiving. Tell me what your thoughts are about Thanksgiving this year versus last year. And you live here in the city.
Yes. Last year, Thanksgiving was a little rough. People in my family were fighting about petty things. Money, jobs, doesn't like someone's boyfriend. And this year, it's going to set a whole different tone. And it's really sad that what happened had to happen for people to be aware that at the end of the day, when you take everything away, family, friends, I mean, love is what's important. And I think that's what people are going to be thankful for given the opportunity to realize that, even though, it had to be tragic.
It's interesting you should say that, Susan, because you just said something today that, before last Thanksgiving, you had some, not only you, but maybe literally millions of families had arguments, etc. And the thought of sometimes of a person going to visit for Thanksgiving, I got to put up with the mother-in-law, I got to put up with the father, I got to put up with the now things are a little different, aren't
they? It's the, people that think that way, I mean, that's really, I think it was what's got the world into this kind of condition.
You're a young girl. You live here in this city.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving is a lot different, as you said, and that's what I'm finding out as doing a lot of these interviews. Susan, what is the biggest thing you fear today?
I fear that people are going to walk away with nothing. That's just going to become part of history, and they're going to forget, and it's going to go back to where it was, and that people are still going to remain closed-minded. Maybe for that 1 week or that one day they became open-minded, and people, whatever's about religions, Catholics, Baptists, Jews, all came together for one purpose. And it's people maybe not being tolerant, losing that, realizing you got to be tolerant. Everybody's different, and if you can't accept it, live with it.
What do you do here in the city?
I work at MTV.
Working at MTV, you're with young people?
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about what do you think God plays a place in our lives today?
I think that young people are trying to find their own relationship with God, and it's not going to be within an organized religion. And I think that that's what works best for people. You can't force people to believe in God or Allah or one way or another, because doing that is just going to cause more death than
in terms
else.
of the being more gracious to one another and kinder. The city is a little bit different this year as it was last year.
Right.
It's more people are being more tolerable.
Right.
When you September 11th, I guess you knew exactly where were you?
I was in Italy visiting my family.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how did you? What was your reaction? I mean,
well,
I know it's a dumb question, but what was your reaction?
It was hard. I mean, it was the best day of my life. I was back in Stromboli, where my family's from, on an island, being like, "This is great." I'm seeing all my ancestors, and then I called my father, and he's like, "Did you hear what happened?" And completely, my life changed. It went from being this really spiritual, opening my eyes to a whole new, way that my family was, to something that I knew I couldn't return to, never being able to return home like it was.
To our viewers in northeastern Pennsylvania, what do you have to say to them on Thanksgiving Day?
Just keep in mind that everybody has a different way of thinking, and just because someone thinks one way doesn't mean that they're a bad person. And that the best way that you can teach that to people is setting an example for other people. I mean, I was never a New Yorker that would walk down the street like this. Like, I was always nice and hoping maybe somebody would learn from that, or it would just give them a whole new way of thinking, and then it goes on and on and on.
Susan, thank you for introducing us.
You're welcome.
As usual, you talk to people in New York City, they have a little different perspective than they had last year. Jason Sweitman lives in New York City, and Jason, talking about Thanksgiving today in your life as a New York City person who lives in New York City, what does Thanksgiving mean to you today versus last year?
Hope. I mean that there's, that there are people out there that care enough to, to go on with what they have to go on with. You know, it's a trying time in our lives right now, and a lot of people have been affected by it, and I personally was affected by it. So to me, it means hope. It means that there's a will to go on. You have to have a will to go on.
Jason, I know in our family and many families in the greater Hazleton area, they're very warm, and it's a family time. And when we saw this terrible tragedy on television, of course, looking at it on television, I know how I felt because I'm in the city a lot. But you live here, okay? I even hate to ask this question. What was your feeling, and how did you react to what was happening?
Well, at first I was numb, like everybody else. It's a common phrase that everybody throws around that they were numb, but I mean, to watch it on television as it's going on, and to be, within miles of where it's actually happening, it's mind-numbing. I mean, you get pretty scared. I had friends that were actually on their way there, that were from out of town, that were coming in to visit me, coming in for holiday. It was a great time. Everybody's gonna have a great time. And then that happened. So what I'm most thankful for, what I consider Thanksgiving this year, is that I'm thankful that my friends are still alive.
Does your family live here?
Yeah, here mostly in the city.
Thanksgiving Day, what will you do? What are you doing Thanksgiving?
I'm gonna have a bunch of my family over to my house. I have 2 little girls, so we're gonna try to make it as festive as possible, and just try to go on.
How old are your girls?
One's 5 and one's 2.
Do they have any idea what's going on?
No, my 5-year-old, we try to shelter her as, from the insanity as much as possible. She's seen a couple clippings, and she's in school, so she's heard a few things, and when she asks us what it is, we just tell her that a really sad thing happened, but they're working through it. My brother is a New York City police officer, so he brings it home. My brother-in-law, I should say. So he brings it home, and he tells me what's going on. And
what does he say?
He said that it's a nightmare. He said that every day he goes down there, he dreads what he sees. He says he can't fathom that there's somebody out there in the world that can do this to people that they don't even know. It was a senseless tragedy.
I would assume your brother-in-law comes home and just looks at his family a different way than he looked at it before.
He does a lot of things differently than he's ever done before. I mean, he smells the air differently than he's ever done before, and he's a New York City cop. These guys are the toughest guys in the world.
No question about it.
And you see these guys just come home at night, and they just, they're not the guys they were a month and a half ago. They're completely different, every one of them. They're all heroes to everybody, and they're just going on with what they have to go on with.
So you talk about having a different perspective of Thanksgiving and what it's all about, and it's just like so many people are telling me today in New York, it's about love, it's about understanding, and what was so important last year and after September 11th that is not as important anymore, is it?
There are so many things. I mean, the way you drive in the city, the way you walk across the street, the way it used to be if you were walking across the street and a cab driver came up to you too close, and he would start beeping at you. You don't take it. You don't get nasty anymore.
Right?
You just smile and walk away.
That's good.
I mean, it's just one of the simple things.
Well, Jason, I wish you and yours a great Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Good luck.
So, folks, Thanksgiving in New York City means a lot to millions of people. And whether you're talking to people that are from India, Japan, China, Spain, all over, the melting pot of the United States right here in New York City, they're talking about friendship, they're talking about family, they're talking about God. What do we have to be thankful for today? You know, the first thing you hear from people is their families. And for those people that have families, they talk about their close friends. Some people today are just sharing time with people who are in the hospital. People who are in homes that don't have any family. I talked to many people today who are going to visit the homeless and make them feel like they're a part of someone's family. So I'm hoping today, whatever you did for Thanksgiving, you did one thing. You gave thanks for what you have and enjoy your families. And you know, sometimes the little things in life that you think are so upsetting to you really are nothing trivial. Just come to New York City and talk to these people. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.